Let's now take a look at real-time clash detection using Autodesk BIM 360 Glue. So here we are. I'm logged in now as David Sanchez to show yet a third person in the mix here. And they're going to be taking a look at running some clash detection for the 5th level of this hospital. So here we are in a general view. This is the one we happen to be using before for markups. But what I can do is hover over this hyperlink that's here at the top of our screen. And you can see this allows us to navigate many different ways. We can navigate to the previous merged models that were open, as well as any kind of recent lists from any models that have been opened by this user. I can go to more models, so that'll take us it's a shortcut. Instead of having to go back out to the home page and then browse, we can jump right to a model, or merged models as well. And then really the one I want to show right now is this idea of creating a new merged model right from here. So the idea is we're in our coordination workflow, we're working with multidisciplines. We now need to build a merged model specific for that. So let's go ahead and select the create new merged model. Again, it's a shortcut, so it brings us right to that dialog box we've seen before. And let's look at, let's say, the 5th and 6th floor for a structural perspective, and then the level 5 from an HVAC perspective, because I know we have quite a few collisions in this area just from the training perspective. So we will call this one level 5 coordination, and go ahead and select merged model. It'll load up those 3 files for us, and then we can continue in our clash detection workflow here. There we have it. I'll go ahead and close my markups screen, and again, continuing to use the toolbar over here, we'll march right down, and here is our flyout for clashes. So real-time clash detection available to us right here in Autodesk BIM 360 Glue. It is a fairly new model, so nothing's been done, so we'll go ahead and say find clashes. And a nice simple interface here. Essentially, we're going to pick the parts of the model we want to work with, so maybe let's do the columns and the framing, and I'll do that for both levels. And we'll compare that to I think I want to just make it specific to ducts. So let's do regular ducts, duct fittings, and flex ducts for now. We can set our tolerance here. So this allows us to have that range in how close things are either clashing or close to each other. And then, of course, a name. So in this case here, we're going to do struct versus steel versus ducts. We're ready to go. We've got our selections made, and all we need to do now is select Find Clashes. Processing that information out in the cloud for us and delivering our results. A couple things I'll point out once the results are delivered. First thing is this clash overview, which is a great synopsis of everything that's been done. It shows us the different models that are being clashed and some statistics or some clashes within them. So we can see what's happening in that 6th floor model versus all models, really that HVAC one. Same for the HVAC itself. So from its point of view, what it's clashing with, and you can see it's all within that 6th floor framing. And then at that 5th floor, we have 0. So I really put it in there more from a visualization perspective to make it look like a real situation here where we had 2 floors. So we've got our 6th floor and our HVAC. So great overview there. Second thing that's happening is you see all these squares or icons out in the model itself. And if I hover over one of them, it will go ahead and show me what clash number that represents. So this gives me great context to the clashes that I have, where they are in spatial relations to the rest of the project. So a nice overview there. And then if I want, I can go ahead and select on one of those clashes from the list. So I'll come over here, and right now we have a straight up list under our clashes window. And simply selecting one should go ahead and zoom us in to that clash. When I do that, another window opens up for us, which gives us the detail about that clash. So now we're digging into the model level or micro level detail of this information. So 6th floor framing, which flange, in this case the W flange with its ID, interfering with a rectangular duct and its ID. So we can see the hierarchy of the models, and then of course the magnitude. So in this case it's a pretty bad clash, 1 foot 11 inches of clash there. And you'll notice that the list is automatically filtered that way. It is sorted by the worst clash first. So as I march down, we should start to see ones, let me just zoom out a little bit more there, that and in this case still a pretty bad clash, but you can see as we come down the list here, we're getting all the way down to some minor clashes overlapping by a half inch, so on and so forth. So if I select on this one, again, just zooming a little bit so we can see it. There's that one where that duct is indeed hitting, and maybe we can address that just on site with some different hangers. So those type of things. So that's the initial clashing that we looked at. If I go ahead and just jump back up to our first clash so we get a good view. We can then group or filter these clashes. So the first thing is, like it says in our overview, we can see the different models that are being clashed. So this really allows us to change our perspective. We can look at things from the framing perspective and see all of the framing items that are clashing with ducts and grouped by that framing item automatically. So here we have some round ducts and some round elbows that are hitting this one flange. So if I go ahead and select that, again, zoom out for context here, we can see there are those clashes that it's representing. And we can choose to do things like add a comment, go ahead and do some notification. We'll take a look at that here in a moment. Or just continue to march down the list and look at the different ones. We can switch that and go to our other model here that's got some clashes. In this case now we're looking at it from the duct's point of view. So if I select on this first one, we can see here's one duct with multiple clashes. And this might be the way I want to group and filter them, because in this case, it's probably a lot easier to drop that duct or resize that duct to take care of the clash instead of having to change all of these W flanges. So really great interface for looking at the information and finding and managing these clashes in real time. Now that I have a clash that I want to focus on, I'm going to now go ahead and share or notify people about this. First thing I'll do is add a comment. Let's go ahead and say drop duct to clear. I'll say save. And you'll notice that as I look at these, they all have that same comment. So the top level, the group, has that comment. But as I select them, note the preview window down here changing. It has the same comment as well. So a really nice system for tracking what's going on here and adding comments. Once I'm ready to then share this for action, just like everything else we've worked with, I can then notify. Here we have a notification window. I'm going to go ahead and notify a couple folks here. We'll look at David and Deb, Ben and Deb, and we'll send this notification off to them. Please address conflict with this duct. Okay, and we'll hit send. Now, what's great about our clash system here, now that our notification has been sent, we've been through it a couple times already. We looked at one single click to BIM for viewing a saved view. We looked at single click to BIM for viewing a markup within a saved view. And so hopefully you understand how that works. The nice thing when we get into the clashes is that because we have the connection with the Autodesk design software, we don't even really have to go to our email. We can do one of two things to understand these notifications. One, as the user, in this case David, who sent the notifications out, we have a filter here for notifications. We can see all of the clashes. We can see any that have been sent to me that I've been notified about, or I can see the ones that I've sent out to someone else. So if I quickly filter this, I can see now a list that is just the 5 clashes that I found earlier with this one duct that I notified Deb and Ben about. So a great way, heads up, to see exactly what's happening and collaborate with this clash. So let's put ourselves in the shoes of Deb or Ben. They're sitting there in Glue working away. They see that there is a result set for clashes available. They select on that result set, and then they can say notifications, the ones received by me, and then they'll have just the ones that have been shared to them to manage. That's the first way. The second way is by using the plug-in, the add-in right inside of Autodesk Revit or AutoCAD or Navisworks to see this clash. So let's go ahead and do that. I misspoke a little bit. It's Autodesk Revit or AutoCAD where we're going to make these changes for the clash pinpoints. So at this point, I'm going to switch over to that Revit environment, and we're going to be in there as that other person. Before I do that, let's pause, give you guys a chance to go through this model if you have it, or your model that you're working with. Look for some clashes, run a clash test, look at the overview, select some different clashes within there to see the different views and the different groupings of clashes within your models. Here we are in Autodesk Revit 2015. We have our HVAC model loaded up and ready to go. And note that we are logged in this case, as one of the personalities or personas, Deb Miller. So she's the one who's going to be responsible for making some adjustments to this model if a clash has been found. To do that, we're going to simply look at our add-ins, and we notice that we have an extra button here, or another button here available to us in our ribbon for BIM 360 called Clash Pinpoint. So I mentioned the ability to see these notifications through email like we've already viewed a couple times, but we can also see it right here inside of our design environment as well. So I'll open up the Clash to Pinpoint dialog box. Again, we'll have to select our host and then our project. Once we've done so, we can see a list of all the clash result sets that have been shared with us. So in this case, David Sanchez, we just saw, created a level 5 coordination clash for structural versus ducts, and he shared a set of clashes within that result set. Here are those clashes. So now we have the 5 clashes that were found. And in order to make an adjustment or see the information, I simply select one of the clashes and view selected. It isolates the object for me, so now I can select the object, turn the model back on, do what I need to do to make the adjustments. So in this case, we're not going to go through and spend too much time with what we do to drop it, but in this, just to make it a quick change, let's go ahead and bring it down maybe to the 10-foot level. That'll redesign. We can do a visual check. Yes, for sure, that's going to miss the structure. So now that we've made the change, we can come back to our add-in, and now we can glue the new model. Just to be sure, I'm going to go ahead and just change my visibility graphics. We're going to uncheck that overlay, or that we're going to uncheck the Autodesk Hospital structural model. So get that out of the way so that when we glue, that doesn't come through with it. And I'll re-glue the model. And in this case here, let's just go down to make sure we've got the right one. There's our HVAC level 5. If you remember before, when we first uploaded this, it told us that the model was new. Now it tells us when it was updated. I'll go ahead and say glue it. It will then prompt us to say, what do we want to do? Do we want to overwrite? Do we want to update? Obviously, in this case here, where we're doing a clash and then fixing it, we want to update the existing model. There's our options. We'll save a new one. In this case, we'll update. Again, Autodesk BIM 360 Glue does the heavy lifting, packages that information up for us, and sends it up to update the central database or the central project in the cloud. So again, let's give you guys an opportunity to try this yourselves. Go ahead, open up Autodesk Revit if you're using this particular project in the sample. Find the clash, share the clash, and then use the clash pinpoint option to go ahead and make an adjustment, isolate that object, make the adjustment, and then re-glue the model. Just to close this out, we're back in our glue environment, and we'll note that as soon as Deb updated that file and hit the glue button, now we get notification via visual cue here in Glue that something has changed. The first thing is, if we're working in our clash window, we'll see that we turn from a green dot to a blue icon here. So that hover over that and we'll see that model has updated since this test has been done. And then up here next to the model name, we also have an exclamation point telling us that we now have version 1 of 2. So I'll select on that. It asks us, what do you want to do? Switch to the latest version. If we need to do that, we're going to make sure anything we've done up to this point is saved and select OK. So this will reload the model for us. So in real time, we're looking at the clashes that were found and then also any adjustments that are being made. In order to understand if that clash is now gone, we'll come into our results set and we'll go ahead and update the results set as well. Find our clashes again, and now we should have a lesser number of clashes. Before we had 122, now we have 117. So we were able to reduce the number of clashes by making that change. So a big workflow that we're supporting here, the real-time capabilities of being able to find the clash, share it with our design side, update that model, whether it's a construction model or design model, then re-glue that information back to Glue, understand how that's affected our clashes, and then move on. So big part of the process for clash detection, but also this collaboration and multidiscipline coordination element by using the cloud.